Hello everybody, Maven here, and remember that last video I did, the Gambit video, where I said I was on like a 30-hour Gambit grind to just get a god roll of the new Backfang Glaive just so I can make one build video on it? Well, I went on that grind, I played Gambit for about 15-ish hours, and then I stopped because I realized there's a chance that I might be wasting my time. Because I decided that before I continue grinding for that 4th Gambit reset, that I would at least test and humor and compare the Backfang Glaive to the Christmas Glaive, aka the Albedo Wing. And there's a really good chance that the Albedo Wing just does Backfang's job even better. So anyways, today we are revisiting my classic Arc Hunter Triton Vice build that I've covered at least 4 times on the channel at this point because it's a build that is always worth coming back to. This is one of my greatest creations, and it's one of the most aggressive and ravenous Hunter Adclair builds probably ever. And its main purpose is to abuse Volt Shot Glaives, and what I mean by Volt Shot Glaives is specifically the Unexpected Resurgence Trials Glaive, because at the time of creating that build, that was the only Volt Shot Glaive in the entire game, and it was an adaptive frame. But nowadays we have the Albedo Wing, which is an aggressive frame Volt Shot Glaive, and then we got the Backfang, which is a rapid fire frame Volt Shot Glaive. So now we have every option available to us, so which one is the best? Well, today we're going to put them to the test and find that out. So let's get to it. Hope you enjoy. Shout out to our sponsor, Advanced GG, the #1 gaming supplement in the world. Use code MAVEN at checkout for 10% off. Link down below. Thank you. So before we hop into the testing, let me give you a quick rundown of what this build is about first and foremost. So the Triton Vice is our exotic of choice, and it buffs your glaive reload speed by 50 and glaive melee damage by 100% when you're surrounded, and glaive melee final blows will overflow around into your magazine up to double your mag size. Awesome abilities for glaives, but the thing is, we're not meleeing with our glaive with this build. That's why I label this as kind of a glaiveless glaive build, because we aren't actually using a glaive like a glaive. We're only using the glaive for its projectiles, so do not think of this as a glaive build because it kind of isn't. So with that said, it's the Triton Vice's secondary ability that we care about, which makes glaive projectiles explode and do AoE damage. So to show you an example here in Breakneck, here is what that looks like. The AoE is very nice and it makes any glaive pretty solid for ad clear. And here's another clip with Volt Shot, the perk focus of the day. This is without the Triton Vice, this is just with Volt Shot, and this adds another element of the ad clear and also a bunch of synergy with our subclass. But now, when you combine the Triton Vice and a Volt Shot Glaive together, it's just incredibly stupid. The ad clear exceeds beyond the effectiveness of things like Trinity Ghoul and Graviton Lance. It hits way harder than most of the other ad clear options in the game, while at the same time having great subclass synergy with the Jolting, as well as the blinding from Spark of Beacons, which makes all our final blows with this glaive cause blinding bursts. So this combo is what makes this one of the most aggressive Hunter ad clear builds ever. So if you want to ad clear fast and hard, this is one of the most explosive ways to do it. But now, down to the testing. So as I stated in the intro, we now have a Volt Shot Glaive of each archetype: the Rapid Fire Backfang, the Adaptive Unexpected Resurgence, and the Aggressive Albedo Wing. But which one is the best? Well, let's first take a look at their damage values. So against the Miner, starting off with the Backfang, we hit for 29,000 damage, and with the Unexpected Resurgence, we hit for 36,000, and with the Albedo Wing, we hit for 42,000. So the jump between the Backfang and Albedo Wing is pretty big. That's a 13,000 damage difference. But how is it against the yellow bar? Well, the Backfang kicks it off with 19,000, the Unexpected Resurgence hits 24,000, and finally the Albedo Wing hits for 28,000. So roughly the same percentage difference than before, but despite aggressive frames doing significantly more damage, the rapid fires make up for their lack of damage with their rate of fire. So they actually do better DPS overall over one mag at the cost of more ammo. And speaking of ammo, that's something unique about glaives compared to other weapon types. Typically, slower firing archetypes carry less ammo, but the logic is a bit different when it comes to shotguns, fusions, and glaives. Now, I didn't bother going for the absolute god roll Backfang just yet, but the one I have is Field Prep with Volt Shot. Now, to preface this, I am using one reserve mod with this build because that's just something you do when you make a build based around a special weapon. So since this is a rapid fire frame and it has field prep to boost its reserves further, you would expect it to carry a heck of a lot more ammo than the slowest firing Albedo Wing. With our one reserve, we can carry 44 ammo with the Backfang. And with the Albedo Wing, shocker, we can also carry 44 ammo despite it being an aggressive frame. So it appears that archetypes make no difference to reserves on glaives, or at least I don't think so. Don't quote me on that though. So the role I have on my Albedo Wing is air trigger and volt shot. Air trigger increases your reserves just like field prep does, and it increases it even more when you enhance it. So the fact that they carry the same amount of reserves, combined with the fact that the Albedo Wing does 45% more damage at base than the Backfang, means that it's a lot more ammo efficient. To be honest, glaives are already extremely ammo efficient as they are. It's kind of nuts how good their ammo economy is. You can carry the same amount of glaive shots as you can with rocket sidearm shots. Like, it's kind of crazy when you think about it that way. Combine that with their ability to melee to preserve ammo as well, and it goes even further beyond that. So anyway, air trigger also has another ability that massively boosts your reload speed while airborne. You get plus 30 reload and also a 0.8x reload duration multiplier, which is exactly what we're looking for. And to elaborate on that, the reason I initially began my grind for the Backfang is because reload speed was my main concern. And that's the reason that impulse amplifier volt shot was my god roll on the unexpected resurgence. Reload speed matters a ton when our ultimate goal is to proc a volt shot after every single kill. And when I tested this a while back, it felt like each of these frames had their own base reload duration multiplier, obviously with rapid fires being the fastest and aggressive frames being the slowest. So I initially felt like the Albedo Wing was too slow, but after testing, it's really not that much of a difference, and it's actually even faster if you keep hopping to proc air trigger. And the whole reason that we're on arc to begin with is because of the flow state aspect, which boosts our reload speed by 50 and gives us another 0.8x reload duration multiplier. Pair this along with the loader mod on our gloves to give us another 10 reload and a 0.85x reload duration multiplier, and it starts to snowball a ton. Not only do we have well over 100 reload speed on our weapon already with these boosts, but we also have 3 different reload multipliers stacking to make our reload speed exceed beyond what our reload stat allows us to. So when all is said and done, the reload difference between all 3 glaives is pretty negligible, but if you take air trigger into account with the hopping, the Albedo Wing is actually the fastest of the 3. So the Albedo Wing wins for reload speed as well as damage as well as ammo efficiency. So does that make it the best in slot volt shot glaive? What argument can we even make for the Backfang? Well, one, as a rapid fire frame, it's more forgiving if you miss a shot because you can spray faster, and that comes into play a lot, surprisingly. And 2, as a rapid fire frame, it does better DPS, which we learned earlier. It may do less damage per shot, but it outputs shots at a faster rate. But I will say that arguably does not matter because our main goal with Volt Shot and Triton Vice here is to one-shot trash mobs and reload. That's the loop we want to have. Shoot, reload, shoot, reload, shoot, reload. So in that case, it makes more sense to do greater damage per shot. And in the gameplay, I did the solo expert blooming deep lost sector with the Backfang and with the Albedo Wing just to compare the two. And I honestly felt that having the Albedo Wing to do greater damage per shot was a lot more useful than outputting shots faster. When I arrive at the hectic room in the middle of the run, I did miss like 3 shots in a row and almost got punished for it. And that's a thing that can happen with a slower firing archetype, but that's honestly just a skill issue. And that's a factor that really shouldn't happen. So that's just a me problem. So all in all, this is just all around a better option in my opinion. So I want to say that the Backfang is not worth it and to just grab an Albedo Wing when it comes around at Christmas again. Although there's no guarantee that it will have air trigger or volt shot. So if you want to grab a Backfang, I wouldn't argue that. It's still a very solid option, and it is double Gambit reputation for a couple more days. So if you wanted to gather the homies and get a nice win farm going and grind for 10 hours, you can probably reset Gambit like 3 times, allowing the Backfang to drop with multiple perks, and then just focus all 80 of your Gambit engrams for Backfangs, and you'll probably get the god roll. Technically 4 resets is more optimal, but it's Gambit, so only go for that 4th reset if you don't mind risking your sanity. But if you didn't want to grind Gambit or wait for Christmas, and you happen to have a ton of Trials engrams sitting around, you can go focus some unexpected resurgences at Scene 14 to try to get that Impulse Amplifier Volt Shot roll, since that one is pretty good as well. The only downside is that it's not enhanceable like the other 2 options are, but it's still solid and gets the job done. So anyways, with our glaive situation situated, let's break down the rest of our build. So there's one big difference to this build as opposed to the last time I covered it, which was like over a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago. At that time, the Ascension aspect didn't exist, and Tempest Strike really sucked. So I just ran Lethal Current because there was nothing else to run. But now we actually have options. You can run Ascension if you want, but I opted for Tempest Strike because it's actually very, very good now. And if you want to see a hunter build that really abuses it, I did an extremely fun Lucky Raspberry build video a few weeks ago. I absolutely love that build and I recommend checking it out if you're a hunter main. But anyways, Tempest Strike received a 57% damage buff in Episode Heresy, as well as a rework that gives you Bolt Charge whenever you defeat a jolted target. And I don't know if you realized it, but literally every single target we defeat is jolted because of our Volt Shot shenanigans. So everything is going to give us Bolt Charge, but that's actually going to be 2 stacks of Bolt Charge since we're rocking Spark of Frequency, which gives you an additional stack of Bolt Charge whenever a source gives you Bolt Charge. Additionally, we have Spark of Ions to give us an Ionic Trace whenever we defeat a jolted or blinded target, which once again is literally every enemy we defeat. And the Ionic Trace is great for ability spam, but it also gives us Bolt Charge thanks to our final fragment, Spark of Discharge, which says collecting an Ionic Trace gives you Bolt Charge. Additionally, Arc Weapon Final Blows can create Ionic Traces as well. So from time to time, just one glaive kill can make 2 Ionic Traces because Ions and Discharge are proccing at the same time. It's quite nice and allows us to spam nades as a way to expel our Bolt Charge stacks, or to spam Gambler's Dodge so we can spam more Tempest Strikes. Now moving on to our mod setup is geared towards spamming special ammo finishers obviously, so we're going to need orbs, which we can make with Reaper, Arc Siphon, and Firepower. And something you should know about Firepower real quick is that we're not rocking Spark of Shock, which people typically run on every arc build. It's the fragment that makes your nades jolt. We're basically only going to use our nade as a way to discharge our Bolt Charge when we have those 10 stacks. That's its only purpose. And if that Bolt Charge snags a kill, which it typically will, it will indeed proc Firepower and make an orb, since the Bolt Charge was created from the nade source. So keep that in mind. Try to save your nades for when you have max Bolt Charge. So moving on with our mods, we got Stacks on Stacks and Charged Up to make our armor charge twice as efficient, and our goal here is to just spam special finishers whenever we get the opportunity to, so that we never run out of glaive ammo. But despite focusing around glaive ammo, we're actually rocking double heavy finders on the helmet instead of special finders. And the reason for this is because we're using the heavy ammo finder enhancement mod on our glaive, which boosts its progress towards proccing that heavy finder. So in total, a heavy brick will spawn after 15 glaive kills, which should be pretty easy to do. Then for the rest of the mods, we got Bolstering Detonation, Melee Resist, Arc Surge, Recuperation, and Powerful Attraction. For our stats, I opted for double hundreds in Resilience and Discipline, then put 8 into Mobility because that's a sweet spot for Gambler's Dodge, and then the rest of the stats don't matter. And for our loadout, with access to Unstoppable Glaive this season, combined with the fact that it can also jolt, and our Tempest Strike jolts as well, that alone deals with 2 champions. So the only thing we need to cover for is barrier champions. So you can run something like Wish Under or Vision Zero in your kinetic slot if you got to deal with those. If not, you can run whatever. And in the heavy slot, I just got some burst DPS with the Wendigo, which has auto loading and explosive light, but you can run a machine gun if you need extra overload capabilities for whatever reason. And here's a snippet of my artifact if you wanted to copy my mods, which by the way, we also have access to a couple glaive based mods with Hold the Line and No Bell. So rapid glaive final blows will heal us and also refund ammo. So with these mods, they're actually super underrated right now. And that about does it for the build. It's such a classic throwback on this channel. This is 100% a must-try build if you're a hunter player. Easily one of the most under-the-radar builds in the game. It's such a blast, no pun intended, and I'll always return to it whenever a new glaive is calling for it. I know some of you told me to try the Vex Caliber. Some of you told me it was insane right now, and I did try it, by the way, and it is good, but I still feel like the Arc build is just stronger, at least in terms of ad clear. The Void version, though, definitely wins with survival because of invis and overshields, so let me know if you guys want it, and I can definitely do a build on it because it is pretty good. But as always, the dim loadout link to the build will be down below in the description, and also the pinned comment if you'd like to give it a try. And if you got any buddies who are hunter mains, I'd appreciate if you consider sharing the video with them. Perhaps this is something they might want to try out. And that's going to do it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit the like button and let me know what you think about the build in the comments. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing. Would love to have you here for more content on the way. And remember to check out our sponsor, Advanced GG. Use code MAVEN at checkout for 10% off your order. Link down below, and I will catch you in the next video. See you later.